"Don't worry, he won't bite," said the human. But the girl didn't believe him, not yet. The cargo hold was dark, cold, and full of strange smells, metal, dust, and something else. Something alive. John, a human engineer, had only come down here to fix a broken air filter. The warship had been quiet for days, floating through deep space. The rest of the crew was sleeping or busy with their own work. He didn't expect anything unusual, but tonight felt different. John moved through the metal crates, holding a flashlight. Something had made a sound, not a rat, not a pipe. It sounded like breathing. He followed the noise, soft, fast, afraid. Few crates down, one of them was slightly open, just a crack. That's where the sound was coming from. John slowly stepped closer. He could feel his heart beating in his chest. His hand reached for the crate's lid. He paused, then lifted it. Inside, huddled in a corner, was a small figure. Big black eyes stared back at him, wide, scared, and wet with tears. The creature looked young, not human. Thin arms wrapped around itself. Dirty skin. Soft silver hair. No clothes except a rough blanket that smelled old and damp. John didn't move. Neither did she. He spoke gently. "Hey, it's okay. I'm not gonna hurt you." The girl didn't reply. She just kept watching him, eyes full of fear. Her breathing got faster. Her body shook. John slowly crouched beside the crate. "You're safe now," he said. "I'm human. Name's John." Still no answer. Then she whispered, "Don't feed me to the beast." John blinked. "What beast?" She looked at the doorway behind him and trembled. "The one that growls, the one that hunts." John frowned. He looked back. There was nothing there. "Wait," he said slowly. "Do you mean Max?" She didn't reply. Her hands clutched the blanket tighter. John stood up and whistled. A few seconds later, footsteps echoed on the metal floor. Then a furry shape ran into the room, a German shepherd, tail wagging, tongue out. Max barked happily and ran straight toward John. The alien girl screamed. She backed into the crate, her arms over her head. "No, don't let it near me." John raised a hand quickly. "Max, sit." The dog stopped and sat, wagging his tail but confused. John knelt again. Hey, it's okay. He's not a beast. He's a dog. He's friendly." The girl peeked through her arms. "Dog?" John nodded. "Yeah, he's not going to hurt you. I promise." Slowly, the girl lowered her hands. Her eyes still watched the dog carefully. It smells like the others." John frowned. "Others?" She looked down. "The ones who chased us. They had beasts like that. They caught the slow ones." John's chest tightened. He understood now. She had been running, hiding, scared for a long time. He took off his jacket and held it out. "You must be freezing. Take this." The girl hesitated. Then, slowly, carefully, she reached out and grabbed it. Her fingers were thin, cold. She wrapped the jacket around her small frame. John looked around. "How long have you been in this crate?" I don't know. Days, maybe more." "Did someone put you here?" She looked away. "They said I was useless. They left me." John took a deep breath. "You're not useless. You're safe now. I'm not gonna let anything happen to you." She looked at him, unsure. He smiled softly. "Don't worry. He won't bite, right, Max?" Max barked once, as if to say hello. The girl flinched, but didn't scream this time. "See? You'll get used to him." She looked down. "I don't have a name." John blinked. "What?" "They never gave me one." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Then maybe it's time you had one." Her eyes lifted. For the first time, a spark of hope flickered there. John stood up. "Come on, let's get you cleaned up. Warm food, real bed." The girl slowly crawled out of the crate. Her legs shook, but she stood. She kept close to the wall, keeping Max in sight but not too close. As they walked away from the cargo hold, She looked back one last time. She had lived in the dark for so long. But maybe now she was finally walking into the light. The girl wasn't breathing. Not properly. Her eyes were wide. Her lips moved without sound. The beast had returned, and this time she had nowhere to run. John stepped into the ship's kitchen with a bowl of hot soup. He had left the girl alone for just 10 minutes, but when he returned, she was frozen in the corner again, just like when he found her. She wasn't looking at him. She was staring at the door, and then a soft click echoed in the hallway. Max was back. The girl shook her head quickly, whispering, "No, not again." John placed the bowl on the floor and stepped between her and the door. "It's okay, it's just Max." But she didn't hear him. The dog entered, tail wagging, tongue out, happy as ever. He gave a cheerful bark when he saw her. She screamed loud, pure fear. She dropped to her knees and covered her head. Max stopped, confused. John quickly knelt down beside her. Hey, it's okay. He won't hurt you." But her body was already shaking. "The last one had yellow eyes too," she whispered. "They let it loose when we couldn't move fast enough." John felt something cold settle in his chest. This wasn't just fear of dogs. This was trauma. He gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "Look at me, please." She did, barely. "He's not like the ones you knew. Max is a helper. A friend, not a hunter." Max slowly lowered his head to the floor, crawling closer like he understood. His tail stayed low, no barking, no quick movements. The girl's eyes flicked toward him. She didn't scream this time. John reached over and took her hand. "Do you trust me?" Her lips trembled. "I don't know." "Then let me prove it," he said. "Just watch, nothing more." He patted his leg. "Max, come." Max walked over and sat beside John, calm and quiet. John took Max's paw and gave it a shake. "See? He's just a big puppy. He listens, he's safe." The girl stared. Her eyes were still full of fear, but also curiosity. John placed her hand on Max's fur. She tensed, ready to pull back, but Max didn't move. He just looked at her with his soft brown eyes. She didn't speak for a long time. Then, in a voice like falling leaves, she said, "He feels warm." John smiled. "That's because he's alive. Just like you. Just like me." She didn't smile back. Not yet. But she didn't pull away either. Later that night, John gave her a clean blanket and let her sleep in the spare room. Max laid outside the door like a silent guard, making sure no one would hurt her. John sat at the kitchen table, thinking, who was she? Where did she come from? Why would anyone lock up a child like that and leave her in a crate? He looked at Max. "You're the first good thing in her life," he whispered. The next morning, John woke up to a quiet sound. Tiny footsteps. He peeked down the hallway. The girl was sitting beside Max, not touching him, just sitting close. She was watching him breathe. John smiled softly and didn't say a word. That afternoon, he brought her a warm drink. She held it in both hands like it was treasure. "What did they call you?" he asked gently. She looked down. "They didn't. No number? No title?" She shook her head. "They only spoke when I was in the test room." "Test room?" "They measured my fear. They scared me on purpose." John's jaw tightened. The girl looked at Max again. "The dogs were part of it. They chased us through tunnels. Some of the others didn't make it." John felt sick. She had escaped a nightmare, and now she was sitting here, afraid to breathe too loudly. But she was brave. She was still here. He reached over and touched her hand. "You're safe now. No more tests. No more monsters." She looked up, uncertain. "Not even Max?" John chuckled. "Not even Max. He only bites cookies." That made her smile just a little. By evening, she asked him a question. "Why do you help me?" John didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Because someone should have helped you a long time ago." The girl looked at him for a long time. She didn't cry. She didn't speak, but for the first time, she reached over and patted Max's head. He licked her hand. She didn't scream. The lights were off. The ship was silent. But from the hallway, John heard a scream so sharp it felt like a knife cutting through the air. He ran, and when he opened the door, he saw the alien girl clawing at her own back, crying, "It's glowing." Again, "They're coming, they know where I am." John rushed inside. The blanket was on the floor. The girl's shirt was pulled halfway up her back. Her skin was glowing, strange blue symbols burning bright like fire under her skin. She was shaking, eyes wide, breathing fast. Hey, what's happening?" John asked, grabbing her arms gently. "They'll find me," she gasped. "You touch the brand, they'll come." John looked at her back. The marks weren't just glowing. They were moving, like living tattoos. Symbols that looked like a language, but not one he knew. "I didn't mean to," he said softly. "I was just helping you sleep. You were cold." She looked up at him, face pale, sweat dripping down her forehead. "You touched it. Now they know." John helped her lie down and covered her again. Max stood in the doorway, ears alert, tail still. "What is it?" John asked. "What do the marks do?" "They're trackers," she whispered. "Hidden ones." "I didn't know they still worked. I thought they faded." "Trackers?" John repeated. "You mean they can follow you?" "Yes," she said. "They were put in me when I was a baby. I don't know why. All the others had them too." John stared at her glowing back. Who would do something like this to a child? "Can we turn them off?" he asked. "Block them somehow?" She shook her head. Only the scientists could. Only they had the codes. John stood up, thinking fast. He couldn't let those monsters find her. Not now. Not after everything she had survived. The next morning, John powered up his terminal and searched through his files. He wasn't a hacker, but he knew how to break. Code, old military tools, signal jammers, hidden tech. He looked at the girl. She was sitting at the table, holding Max's paw like it was a lifeline. "Do you trust me?" he asked. She looked at him and nodded just once. "Then I'm going to try something," he said. "It might sting a little." He asked her to lie down. He pulled up the scanner. As it passed over the marks, the screen filled with unreadable text, symbols, layers of coding. Then something strange happened. The screen changed, and the girl's voice changed too. She spoke. But it wasn't her voice. It was robotic. Controlled. Double quotes. Subject 9A. Fear level reduced. Activation incomplete. Awaiting retrieval. John froze. What was that? The girl blinked, confused. I don't know." John tapped his device again. Suddenly, her back glowed brighter, and she clutched her chest. "It hurts." John yanked the scanner away. The glow faded, but now he knew something very important. She wasn't just a test subject. She was still active. That night, they didn't sleep. The girl sat beside Max again, quieter than ever. John sat near her. "They didn't just study you," he said. "They built something inside you." She nodded slowly. "They said I was broken, that I didn't react the way they wanted." John looked at her. "You weren't broken. You were strong." She didn't reply. Then she asked, "Are you going to leave me too?" John stood up and walked to her side. "Not a chance." She looked down at the floor. "They'll come. They always come." "Let them," he said. "But they won't get past me." The next day, John started building a signal blocker using spare parts. It wasn't perfect, but it might buy them time. While he worked, the girl came over and sat beside him. She watched carefully. Then, without asking, she reached out and helped moving wires, linking cables. Her hands were fast, exact. John looked at her, surprised. "You've done this before?" She nodded. "They made me fix machines when they were angry." He smiled. "Well, this time you're fixing something for you." She didn't smile, but her eyes looked different. A little stronger. A little braver. When the device was done, John placed it near her. A soft pulse hummed through the ship. The glowing marks on her back slowly faded. She touched her skin. "They're quiet now," she whispered. "I can't hear them." "You heard them?" John asked. "In my head. All the time." Now it was silent. John stood up. "We're not running anymore. If they come, they'll face both of us." She looked at him. "I don't want to be a test," she sighed. "I want to be someone you will be," John said. "You already are." The stars blinked quietly outside the ship. But inside something screamed, not a person, not a beast. It was the ship itself. A sound that hadn't been heard in years. Intruder signal detected. Life form marked for retrieval. Then came the second sound, metal footsteps above them. Something had already boarded the ship. John dropped the wrench he was holding. The girl's head shot up. Max began growling, low and deep. They weren't safe anymore. John ran to the control panel. Red lights blinked across the screen. An incoming signal. Unauthorized. Silent. Hidden under a broken protocol, one used only by Black Ops groups. "They found us," the girl whispered. John's fingers flew over the buttons. "No way, we blocked the tracker." "They never needed the tracker," she said. "The moment I spoke the activation code, they locked on." John cursed under his breath. "There. Jamming our comes." He grabbed her hand. "We need to move, now." Max barked. Loud, sharp. From above, something thudded like metal hitting metal. The girl's eyes filled with fear. "They're here." They ran down the narrow hallway toward the escape hatch. The girl clutched a small bag with tools John gave her. Max ran ahead, alert. "Is there a back way?" she asked, breath shaking. "No," John said. "But there's a way through." In the engine room, John pulled open a secret hatch behind the fuel tank. "This leads to the underdeck. It's tight, but they won't follow there." The girl crawled in first. Max followed. John was last, closing the hatch behind them. They moved fast, crawling through pipes and shadows. Behind them, they could hear boots. Heavy, slow, confident. Whoever it was, they weren't in a rush. They were sure they'd catch them. Inside the underdeck, the girl whispered. "Why are they doing this?" John paused. "Because they're afraid of what you are." "I don't even know what I am." "You're not a weapon," he said. "You're someone worth saving." She didn't answer. She just kept crawling. They reached the back wall where John had hidden a small shuttle. It wasn't fast, but it was old, off the grid. No tracking system. He opened the door, and Max jumped in. The girl followed but stopped. Suddenly, a metal clang echoed through the hallway behind them. Too close. John shoved her inside and slammed the door. He jumped into the pilot's seat. "Hold on!" The shuttle roared to life. Dust flew. The back hatch blew open. Figures in dark armor appeared in the smoke. One lifted a weapon. The girl screamed, "Go!" John punched the engine. The shuttle lifted off, spinning, shaking, barely holding together. The blast door closed behind them just as the bolt fired. It missed by seconds. Out in space, the stars seemed peaceful again. But the girl was curled in her seat, breathing fast. Max licked her hand. John looked back. "We made it." She didn't look up. "They'll chase us, I know. They always chase," John nodded. "But this time, they'll find someone ready." He set a course far outside mapped space into a zone called the Dust Ring. No signals worked there. No one patrolled it, but it was dangerous. Unknown. Perfect for hiding. The girl finally spoke. "You're risking your life for me." "I know." "Why?" John looked at her and smiled. "Because when someone says help me, a human doesn't walk away." She looked away, silent for a while. Then she whispered, "I don't want to run forever. Then let's make a stand." As the ship drifted into the dust ring, static filled the screen. Their signal vanished from all known maps, but far behind them, a dark ship moved through space silent, cloaked, and watching. Inside that ship, a voice said, "Subject 9A is active. Begin Phase 2. The girl had never seen fire before. Not like this. Not wild. Not dancing. Not warm without pain. She sat frozen, watching the orange flames rise and fall. "Is it alive?" she asked. John smiled, tossing a stick into the fire. "Kind of. It eats wood, not people." She blinked. "Strange. Everything I knew that glowed hurt." They were safe for now. John had landed the small shuttle on a quiet moon far beyond charted space. No cities, no satellites, no signals. Just rocks, sky, and wind. The dust ring blocked all communication. Even the dark ships couldn't track them here. They set up a small camp beside a canyon. It wasn't much. But to the girl, it felt like a new world. She sat beside the fire, legs crossed, still holding a blanket even though the air wasn't cold. Max slept beside her, one paw twitching in a dream. John handed her a stick with something soft on the end. "What's this?" she asked. "Marshmallow." John said, "We roasted over the fire." She stared at it. "Is it food or a test?" John laughed. "It's food, one of the best." She held the stick over the flame, watching it carefully. The marshmallow caught fire, and she jumped back with a gasp. John quickly blew it out. She stared at the now blackened treat. "Did I ruin it?" "Nope," John said, taking a bite. "Burnt's the best part." She tilted her head. "You're very strange. We call it being human." Later that night, John showed her the stars. Through a small telescope. "They look so far," she whispered. "They are. But they're not unreachable. Have you touched one?" John smiled. "Not yet." She was quiet for a moment. Then she asked something small, soft, careful. "Why do humans play?" John looked at her. "What do you mean?" "You roast food, you tell jokes, you sit by fires and laugh. Why?" John leaned back, hands behind his head. "Because life's not just about surviving. It's about living." She didn't speak. Then she said, "We were told that rest was weakness, that joy was wasteful." John shook his head. Then they lied. The next morning, she woke up before John. She walked to the edge of the canyon and looked at the rising sun. Her feet sank into soft dirt. No steel, no alarms, no cages, just light and sky. Max came over and sat beside her. She touched his head. "I'm still afraid," she whispered. Max just leaned into her gently. In 4. The first time she didn't pull away. That day, John began fixing the shuttle's broken systems. The girl helped. She was fast, clever. Every wire she touched seemed to obey her. "You've got a gift," John said. "They forced me to learn," she replied. "Well," John said, handing her a tool, "now you get to choose what you do with it." That night, they played a human game with stones, simple rules. Nothing serious. She laughed when she won. John froze. "Was that your first laugh?" he asked. She covered her mouth, eyes wide. "I don't know. It just came out." John grinned. "Well, you better get used to it." But peace doesn't last forever. As the wind picked up, John scanned the sky. A strange shadow passed above the clouds fast. Too fast. The girl noticed. "What's wrong?" she asked. He didn't lie. "Something's coming." They hid the ship under a camo tarp. Shut down the systems. Waited. Night fell. In the dark, John sat beside the girl. "If we run again, we may not have another place like this," he said. "I don't want to run anymore," she whispered. He looked at her. "Then maybe it's time we stop." She turned to him. "How do humans fight?" John smiled. "Together." The fire had gone out. The wind was still. The dog growled first. Then came the silence, the kind of silence that meant something was watching. And then a red laser dot landed on John's chest. John didn't move. He didn't breathe. Max's ears were sharp. his body low. The girl stood frozen behind the small boulder, holding her breath. Above them, from the shadows, stepped something tall. Black armor, glowing eyes. A voice cold and sharp. Subject Nina, return now. No harm will come to the human. John stood up slowly, arms raised. She's not going anywhere. The armored figure stepped forward. She belongs to us. John narrowed his eyes. Not anymore. Then came the second figure, faster from the side. Before John could react, he was knocked to the ground. Max lunged, teeth bared. The dog clamped onto the attacker's arm, but was thrown off with a flash of light. The girl screamed. The soldier grabbed John's collar. Last warning. Something inside her snapped, something deep. She wasn't afraid anymore. She stepped into the open. Her eyes glowed white at first, then shifting to silver blue. Her hands lifted slowly, shaking. And then light poured from her fingertips like sparks rising from a storm. Both soldiers turned, but too late. The energy hit them like a wave. The first one flew back into the canyon wall with a loud crack. Second dropped his weapon, screaming as his helmet cracked from within. Max crawled to John's side. Dazed but okay. John looked up, eyes wide. You. The girl stood in the firelight, breathing hard, arms still glowing. I didn't know I could, she whispered. But I felt it. John stood up slowly. They made you to be a weapon, but they didn't count on you having a choice. She looked down at her hands. I'm not their weapon. He stepped beside her. No, you're their mistake. They checked the soldiers. Alive but barely. John took their comms units and tossed them into the canyon. Then, using the girl's knowledge and John's tools, they erased all digital signals from the landing site. The enemy couldn't track them anymore, but they wouldn't stop coming. Later, sitting by a new fire, John looked at the girl. What happened back there? Have you ever felt that before? She shook her head. I always felt something inside me, but I thought it was fear. John smiled. Turns out it was fire. She looked at him. I'm dangerous. You're powerful, he said. That's not the same thing. She looked away. What if I hurt you someday? He didn't blink. That I'll remind you who you are. That night, she had dreams, not of cages, but of stars, not of running, but of flying. She dreamed of using her powers to protect, not just herself, but others like her. She woke up with tears in her eyes. I want to help people, she whispered. Like you helped me. The girl stood in front of a mirror, not to see her face, but to search for something else, something deeper. For the first time in her life, she wasn't running, hiding, or obeying. For the first time, she was wondering, who am I, if I'm free? John was working outside the ship, repairing the scanner array, when she stepped out. He looked up, surprised. She was wearing clean clothes now. A jacket he gave her. Boots that actually fit. She looked stronger, still quiet but not scared. She walked toward him, holding something in her hand. Is this a name book? He asked, wiping his hands. She nodded. You said I should choose one. I want to. John smiled and leaned against the wall. All right, show me what you've got. She opened the small notebook and pointed to a name she had. Circled, Lyra. He raised an eyebrow. Like the constellation? She nodded. It means star, and I like the way it sounds. Lyra, he said again softly. That's a beautiful name. She looked down. Do you think it fits me? John smiled. You burned 2 soldiers, rewired a shuttle, and saved my life with glowing hands. Yeah, I think you've earned it. That evening, they sat on the edge of a cliff, overlooking a sea of glowing mist below. Max lay beside them, snoring lightly. Lyra held her knees to her chest. Do you think they'll come again? John nodded slowly. Probably, but next time we won't be alone. She looked at him. You mean, you'll still be with me? Lyra, he said gently. I didn't Risk my life just to drop you off somewhere. I'm with you. Wherever you want to go." She was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, "What do humans do when they want to protect someone forever?" John thought for a second, then said, "We make a promise." She held out her pinky. "Then I want a promise." He smiled and linked his pinky with hers. "I promise." Suddenly, a soft beeping came from inside the ship. John ran to check. His screen lit up. A message. Not a warning. Not a trap. A signal. Friendly. Human. "Someone's looking for survivors," he said, excited. "There's a science team nearby. They can help us." Lyra stood at the doorway. "Help us?" John turned. "Only if you want it." She thought for a moment, then nodded. "But I speak first," she said. He smiled. "Of course." Hours later, a human shuttle landed on the far side of the canyon. A small team of researchers stepped out. They looked cautious, until they saw Lyra. She stepped forward, alone, head high. "My name is Lyra," she said clearly, "and I am not a weapon." The leader of the team looked stunned. John walked up beside her and added, "She's the reason I'm still alive." They didn't argue. They listened. For once, the world listened. Over the next few weeks, Lyra shared her story pieces at a time. Other survivors were found, children, teenagers, all marked like her. But now they had someone to guide them, someone who knew the path from fear to strength. One morning, as she walked past a mirror in the research base, she saw her reflection. Same silver hair, same eyes, but something was different now. She smiled, because she finally knew who she was. And on the side of the ship John had rebuilt, in fresh white paint, were 2 words written by her own hand. Teen Lyra.